Hello everybody, this is Yoko's Anime Reactions, and it never ends, guys. It never ends with these kids. My parents got a above ground pool. It's like, probably the tallest is here for me in the pool. No, maybe to my shoulders, I don't know. I didn't really get in. But my nephews obviously love it. And they have rules for the kids where they have to be good in order to be able to get in the pool. Otherwise, it's a no-no. But then again, they're kids. They're not always going to listen 100% of the time. But because it's not realistic to expect them to listen 100% of the time, or else I would think something is very, very wrong here. Anyway, this is going to be my review for Noragami Episode 3. And we get to see, that apparently in this world, the gods aren't technically invisible. They're like, it's like, you have to look a certain way to see them or else you're gonna miss them. Or like, it's like a blink if you miss it type thing. Or a blink and you'll miss it type thing. And apparently that's not what I thought at first when I was first starting to watch this show, because I figured people with high spirituality were able to see them and others could not. Which confused me when Yato said, "Hey, what about getting 2 more glasses of drink over here?" I'm like, dude, she can't see you. What are you saying that for? And actually, now that I'm thinking about it, that had no bearing at all, considering he was advertising for services and he was doing services for people. And that included a plumbing job for that other guy in the other episode. So people can see them. But I figured it was like, usually people can't see them unless they actually want them to. So it was like Yato could turn it on and off, essentially. Or make it for specific people. But no, apparently you can, it's just that people don't really pay attention, and then when they do, they're easily forgettable. So yeah, apparently Yuki and Yato share the same body as well. Or not share, yeah, they share the same body and they share the same thoughts. So when Yuki was talking with Hiyori, and he kind of looked, when they were, playing with the cat, he kind of looked down where her chest would be, which she doesn't really have much of a chest. Why is that? Why is that? Why is it that usually the main female will either have not really much of a chest at all, or a big one? I don't get it. Pick in the middle, essentially. Or not much of one, is what I should say. They don't have to be flat. They're usually either gigantic, not much, or nothing at all. Why can't you just pick a D cup? That's not big. Heck, mine's a freaking, I'm not saying my chest size. I almost walked right into that one. But yeah, I'm kind of big, yet not near as big as some of those gigantic sizes are. No. Anyway, he looked down at her, and Yato acted like he had gotten smacked in the back of the neck, or stung in the back of the neck, or something. And turned around and is telling him, "Don't be thinking dirty thoughts in her head." And I'm like, what the fuck? Apparently that he can hear his thoughts. And I'm like, what could he possibly have been thinking about? I mean, especially later, because he does the same thing, but it's not, there's no way he could have been thinking any kind of perverted thoughts, unless he was thinking of maybe comforting her or something. I don't know. Anyway, they end up getting, he ends up getting a job offer, and she somehow ends up going with them, because she pulled herself out of her body, and I figured she just fell over trying to catch them, but no, she pulled herself out of her body again, and it turns out that they ended up at the, God of Knowledge's shrine. I don't remember what his name is, but the others know him, and they were worshipping him like a god normally is worshipped, and Yato took offense to that because they don't treat him that way, indicating that he's not a real god. Well, he is a real god, he's just not as well known or popular as some of the other gods, essentially. Apparently he was the one who summoned them for the job, and it turns out it's a job that they wanted him to check out because I guess the god knew what the job entailed and what was causing it, and he didn't want to risk exposing the rest of his shrine maidens to it because because it could corrupt them and they wouldn't be able to be regalia anymore. Because apparently in this job, we actually get to see the girl Tomo again. Her name's Mayu now, I think that's what her name is. Mayu. Because she's now the god of knowledge is regalia. And essentially his smoke pipe. Anyway, we find out that the job is in an area where the person who made the job wants to be able to go to college because in place of their friends that died. Because apparently they had committed suicide. And turns out the reason for this is because apparently, from what I remember correctly, if I'm remembering this correctly, let me know. Phantoms can amplify negative energy exponentially, essentially. So, like, if you're having, like, a bad day, it'll amplify that to the point where it might actually cause you to commit suicide. Because if it's so, these people might not have had the urge to do so had they not encountered the phantoms. And Hiyori wants to go and help these people because nobody deserves to have that, thrust upon them when they might not even want to. Because usually suicide is seen as the only way out, the only option. And it's usually for people who are having an extremely rough life, depression, anxiety, all sorts of stuff going on. And they see it as the only option that they have left. And essentially they're trying to prevent this so that way they maybe, if they get rid of the phantoms, maybe they will realize they have other options. And Yato is just being very indifferent about this, like not wanting to even take the job, essentially. He was saying, if they want to commit suicide that badly, just let them. Because apparently, he thinks that a person who wants to commit suicide is already possessed, and thus is not able to be saved because they're corrupted essentially at this point, and they can't even become regalia. And Hiyori doesn't like this attitude of his, and I don't blame her at this, and she tries to go and stop this. And she actually does kick one of the phantoms, but soon realizes that she's in over her head because there's a lot more, way too many, for her to handle by herself. Now, if it was just one-on-one, she might be able to, but obviously these things don't play fair. And they try and get her run over by the stupid train, but thankfully, Yato and Yuki show up and save her, having to remind her yet again that if that tail severs, she dies. So essentially, it's going to get her connection to her body. Sorry. Anyway, they end up finding the thing responsible, or the big bad one, the big one, in the area, and it's trying to lure some guy into walking in front of the train, all because he got a bad grade on a test. Now, obviously, we don't know what this person's life was like before this test, so it might have been the only thing that was his problem, or he could have just been having a very bad life, and that thing just amplified it enough to where he just started walking onto the train tracks. Thankfully, Yato was able to exercise this thing, get rid of it, whatever you would call it, and save the guy in the process. And it turns out that he took this job in the first place because, like I said, if the god of knowledge had sent any of his shrine maidens out to take care of it, they could have seen this and risked getting corrupted, and thus would have not been able to be regalia anymore. They would have been corrupted because regalia is essentially, I think, is made from an uncorrupted spirit, an uncorrupted soul. And Hiyori realized this afterwards, that he was trying to spare the other shrine maidens, the other spirits, from having to witness this. And this made her cry, and Yuki looked over at her. I was a little shocked, I think. I don't know what the heck was going through his mind. I think that was when he was thinking about comforting her or something. And Yato did that thing again, where he acts like he got stung or something, and was telling him not to have dirty thoughts. I'm like, what the fuck could he possibly have been thinking about that made him have perverse thoughts? Let me know, guys. Let me know what he could have been thinking about at that point, because I didn't think he was thinking any perverted thoughts. I thought he was just thinking, maybe I should comfort her, or maybe I should give her a hug or something. But, yeah, this is definitely going to be an interesting show but this is the first time I've seen in the show that this has gone through such a dark topic of suicide. Let me know what you guys think on this. If I missed anything important, if I'm wrong about anything, let me know, and I'll see you guys next time.